Hello, everyone. This is Miss Eve, and I wanted to do a short demo on how to move around in the TurboTax Desktop product. So let's grab a cup of coffee and let's take a quick look at how desktop functions. So today I am going to be using TurboTax Home and Business. And we're going to take a look around at the difference between home and business and desktop versus the self-employed with TurboTax Online. And I think you guys will find that desktop is a little bit easier to maneuver. And the majority of our desktop customers are customers that have used desktop for quite a long time, just as I have. Probably used TurboTax for the last 25 years myself. So it is a great program, and I'm so happy to be able to share a little bit of knowledge with all of you guys. So I have started this brand new return by clicking on File, and then I clicked on Open Tax Return. Now, once you click Open Tax Return, you'll get to a screen like this where it offers, if you used the program last year, it will import that information into the 2024. So these are some of my dummy files. So I'm going to transfer in the Mark Jones file. So if I click here, it will transfer it in. But let's say you don't see it in this list. You can also click on Browse and then locate the file depending on where you have it saved on your computer. So since it's showing up here, I'm going to go ahead and click Transfer Return. And it is transferring in that information from last year. This is awesome because it allows you to just go in and just update without having to manually type everything in again. It shows the information that was brought over from 2023 into the 2024 return. So I'm going to click continue here. Now, this is something new this year that they're offering to desktop customers, and it is live tax advice that will guide you step by step if they would like that particular service. So they do have the option in the program to take advantage of it. Now, the $50 discount is only if they sign up for TurboTax Advantage to the subscription. And other than that, it would be $60 if they wanted live tax advice. So we are going to skip over that and say skip for now. And it just gives a disclaimer. And we're going to continue. So let's get started with TurboTax by clicking continue. And since we transferred in that information, it's going to guide us through reviewing our information from last year first, see if anything has changed. So I'm going to click continue here. And is this going to be a joint return again? We're going to say yes, we are. And they already brought the information over from last year. So this is all the same. We'll just hit continue. And Mark cannot be claimed as a dependent on anybody else's taxes. And none of these apply. So we'll hit continue. Now we're going to do the same thing for Sally and all her information is still the same. So we're going to click continue. And Sally cannot be claimed as a dependent on anybody else's return and continue. Again, none of these apply to Sally, so we'll check none of the above and continue. Now it asks if they either of them made money in other states, and in this case, they did not. All right, so now it's verifying the dependents information from last year. Let's say in this case, Blake's info is exactly the same, so we're just going to say yes for Blake and continue. And now we're going to keep going. It's saying good news, Blake is considered a dependent. So let's hit continue. Then we're going to do the same thing for their daughter, Kimber. Her information is still the same and continue. Looks like Kimber is qualified as well. So we'll hit continue here. So now it just confirms on this page that they have their son listed as a dependent. They have their daughter listed as a dependent. Now, let's say maybe you entered something in incorrectly here. The cool thing is that you can just click the edit button. And if you did need to change anything, you can go through and update whatever you need. Click continue. And we see that they both lived the whole year with their parents. That was brought over from last year. None of these apply. And they was not married. And they belong to Mark and Sally, and he did not pay more than half of his living expenses, and a relative did not support him. So if there was anything that you needed to change in here, it would just take you through the interview again. Verify the source. Now we're back there. So we're going to click done here because we're done with dependents. And they brought in the address and the phone number from last year. That is correct. So we're going to click continue. Now we get the personal info summary. So we see Mark's info, we see Sally's info, we see Blake and Kimber. They're filing jointly. We have the address and phone number in there, and other state income is none. Notice there are edit buttons as you go along. So if you need to, if you need to correct anything as a customer, you just go in and click the edit button. So let's say everything is correct here for the personal info. So we're going to click continue. Now, one thing I want to point out here is, as you can see, the difference between home and business versus maybe Premier or Deluxe is this business button right here. So because we're in home and business, we see this business button. You will only see that in home and business. Now, you also see the personal tab. Now that's the same as the federal taxes tab and deluxe and premier. So the only difference is you have business and personal when using home and business versus in deluxe and premier and basic, you're going to see instead of personal, you'll see the word federal taxes, but they are the same exact thing, same exact thing. So we're going to skip over business right now, and we're going to go right on over to the personal section. So when we go to the personal section, when we open it up, you'll see that there are multiple headers here. You got personal income, which again in the lower versions will say federal income. You got deductions and credits, other tax situations, and federal review. So we're going to start and just click continue to go into personal income. And in this case, you can choose walk me through everything, but that can be quite lengthy. This is what I love about desktop is you can go in and quickly choose what you want to work on. So I'm going to choose what I work on. And it's asking, does Mark and Sally still have these W-2s? And let's say, yes, they do apply. They do have those same W-2s this year. So we're going to hit continue. And now we see that we can start with Sally's W-2. So we're going to start with Sally since that was the one that popped up first. And when Sally has her W-2 all ready to go, and that is the correct ID for Sally. So we're just going to click continue here. And that number was transferred over from last year, in case you were wondering. So we're going to click continue. And because this is not one of our partners, you have two options here. You can type it in yourself or you can upload from the computer. Not all of our companies are partners with TurboTax where you can actually import it in. In this case, it's a small company. So we're just going to choose type it in ourselves. And we want to verify that this W-2 belongs to Sally. Notice here, both of them are listed. Make sure you're selecting it for the correct person. We also see that the information for the company is already in there. So we can click continue here. And then we can look at her W-2, which she would be doing, and pulling that information off of her W-2. So her wages were 10468 and she had 1047.32 in taxes taken out. Our Social Security wages were the same thing, 468. And again, this is the customer point of view. This is what you would be entering in from your actual document. And let's see, 649.21 is Social Security, same thing for Medicare. And see here, that was 151.79 according to the W-2. No Social Security, no tips. So nothing in boxes 12, 13, none of those apply. So we're going to go right down to the state. And this is the state of California. And the ID is 8745677801. And then the same amount of wages, 468. And for state tax, 475. No local taxes on this one, so we will hit continue. And this shows us what the tax refund is so far, which is adding in Sally's W-2. Now we're going to move on to Mark's W-2. All right, so again, we see that the refund is currently $6,432. Let's see what else we're going to get for them. So we're going to click continue here. And none of these apply as far as uncommon situations. So we're going to choose none of these apply and then continue. Now we're going to go ahead and enter in Mark's W-2. So we'll click start here for Mark. Again, it has already pre-filled in the EIN number from last year. Since it's the same, we're just going to click continue. And then again, they're not one of our partners, so we're going to choose type it in myself. So Mark has his W-2 out, and he's going to verify that all this info is correct, and it is, and click continue. Now let's take a look at Mark's W-2. All right, so Mark had for box 1, 73458.73. And for taxes, he had 8521.72. For Social Security wages, it was a little bit more because he had a 401k. So that is 75,983.05. Again, all this is coming right from the W-2. And Social Security tax, 2203.02. And then the same thing for Medicare wages, 75,983.05. And then his Medicare withheld, 921.45. Now, he doesn't have anything in box 7 through 11 on his W-2, but he does have something in box 12. So on the W-2, it says 12D, which is for 401k. And then the amount in 12D is 2524.52. And on his W-2, it also shows that the retirement box is checked. So we're going to leave that checked. And then we're going to scroll down. The only other info is on the state side. So we're going to choose California. And then their state ID is 07425592. Now, sometimes the state ID will be the same as the federal ID, and then sometimes it can be different. So you just taking whatever you see on the W-2. And then for their state wages, 73,458.73. And state income tax was 1950. And then there were no additional taxes for locality. So we're going to hit continue here. And now we see that the refund went down just a tad, didn't it? Because the more income you enter, the higher tax bracket you can possibly be in. The cool thing about TurboTax is it is designed to maximize your deductions based on what you enter into the program. It is all based on what you enter in. All right, so let's hit continue. And none of these apply. And continue. All right, so we see that we have both Mark and Sally's W-2. So we don't need to add anything more. So we're going to click done here. All right, so we can see a summary and we can see since they used the program last year, we can kind of compare. So we see what was entered in for 2023 and what was entered in for 2024. And then here's some additional income. For instance, if you had a 1099 INT for like interest or dividends, or stocks. Investment income is here. If you have Social Security, here's the section for Social Security. Other common miscellaneous expenses or income, Schedule Ks and Schedule Qs for estates and trusts. Then less common income. Most of the time, these will not actually apply. But what is really cool here is a lot of these learn more links. If you're not sure what something is, these learn more links can be very helpful. So, for instance, if you want to know what this means by prizes, awards, and gambling winnings, you can just click that learn more link, and then it actually will tell you what that means, give you some examples. So many times something may be a little confusing, but just by simply looking at the learn more links, you're able to determine what is needed there. So learn more for Social Security gives you the paperwork you need, gives you some IRS publications as well. So lots of great info. Um, Available in these learn more links. If you're not quite sure what something is, click on those links and you can learn about that section really, really quickly. So we are done with income. So we're going to go to say done with personal income. Ask that they have a foreign bank account. We're going to say no and continue. We did not take any disaster relief. And continue. Oh, no, we did not have any digital assets. All right, so it looks and shows you what our total income was from last year to this year. And we can click continue. Now it's going over to the deductions and credits section. So let's pause here for one moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to do the same thing for deductions and credits. Choose what we'll work on. Now we'll see that there's quite a few different deductions and credits that you may be qualified for. Again, if you have any of these or if these apply to you, you should have a form that corresponds. If you're not quite sure, again, you can click the Learn More link and it will give you information on any of these topics. So let's say we are going to go down to Child and Dependent Care Tax Credit, and it says it needs review. So we're just going to click Update. And it says, let's check for child and other dependents credits. Click continue. And none of these apply to them. So it's letting them know that the $2,000 child tax credit and $500 credit for other dependents is already included in your return. Now you can look and see if anything else applies, like for instance, donations to charity, carryovers, car registration fees. I will let you guys know that because they've changed the threshold for standard deduction, it's much harder to itemize now because you have to meet that threshold. And I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. So let's say none of the rest of this applies to them right now. So we're just going to scroll down and go done with deductions. All right, so it does an analysis and it clicks continue. And it's just checking to make sure you didn't miss any deductions based on what you have entered in. So let's say in this case, we say that yes, we do own our home. And we can see that you're getting a standard deduction of 29,200. So that is your threshold, which means you would have to have expenses over 29,200 to be able to itemize your deductions. So that is the big difference. And when they double the amount of deduction, which makes it a little bit harder for you to be able to itemize and click and actually put in things like your property tax. You can put them in there, but you'll notice that it won't make very much of a difference in your refund. So this kind of gives us an overview of what our tax looked like last year versus what it looks like this year. And then we'll just click continue. It just again tells you that you are getting the standard deduction, which is going to save you the most money. We'll click continue. And on this section here, the main thing you'll use this section for, and this is on any of the versions of the program, is the most used section here is identity protection pin for folks who have been a victim of identity theft, as well as amendments. And this is done after they have filed. So if you want to know what amend means, it tells you you can only amend after it has been filed and accepted. If your return has been rejected, it's not considered filed. So all you have to do is just refile it again if it's rejected. So that's the definition of an amendment. Let's say none of this applies, so we're going to say done with other. And yes, we have entered everything in. And again, we get a recap with our year-over-year comparison. And then we're going to click continue. And this just goes through the tax situation. Mark is covered by a retirement plan, but most people just skip this. So we're going to skip it. And now we can do our review. Now, it looks like we have some errors on our entries. Now, I did skip a few things on purpose because I want to demonstrate forms mode. So here is the cool thing about forms mode is you click on this little paper and it switches to forms mode. Now, notice over here that we see some red exclamation points, don't we? So wherever there's a red exclamation point, that means there's an error in the return. So we can go straight to the first exclamation point, and we can see that this was for home office. So the difference is if you scroll down, you'll anywhere you see a pink box, that means there's something that needs to be selected there. Anytime you see a pink box. So in this case, for this particular form, that's what we're missing, the yes or no for home office expense. So we're just going to say yes there. And notice once I said yes, everything filled in and there's no more exclamation point. Now here is the other cool thing about forms. Let's say this year she did not use her Ford Escape. She had a little home business last year, but this year she's decided, I'm switching to something else. I don't like selling Avon. Didn't make a lot of money on Avon, so I gave Avon the boot. So because it carried over from last year, we need to deduct this form. So what we can do to delete it is because we see this red exclamation point, let's say she didn't use the Ford Escape this year, we can simply hit delete form down at the bottom of the screen, and it's gonna verify that you want to delete it, and you say yes. And now that form is gone and no more errors in our return. So we can now switch back to step by step and let's continue and let's run smart check again. And bam, no more errors in our return. All right, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the state return. And because they're in California, just going to click on this the amount. And we're going to hit continue. And then we're going to edit California and continue. And yes, they filed California taxes last year, same name. And this is their principal address. And it is San Diego County. And no, we do not need to make any electronic payments. And we don't have any dependents that we didn't claim, so we're going to say no there. And we had health insurance all year. And continue. Were anybody enrolled in these less common plans? No. It was enrolled through his job. And then these are, if you have questions about getting a 1095B or 1095C, you'll find out that based on this publication, you do not need to enter that information. And this is about grant allocations. We don't have any grant allocations, so we're just going to click continue. And then COVID business relief grant. We didn't get any of that. And then we're just going to click done here. And we're going to click continue. Continue. None of these apply. And then we're going to do done with adjustments. Did you pay rent for at least half of 2024? Say no. Don't qualify for a renter's credit. No out-of-state taxes. No AMT. We're just going to skip that. And if you want to know what that means, you again can click on the links. And it'll explain it to you. We're just going to choose skip. Now it goes through California credits. Let's say none of this applies. And we're going to go done with credits. We want to donate to a special fund. We do not. And do I want to register to vote? I already registered, so I'm going to say no. I'm going to say done with other. And let's check it over. All right, so this is regarding their business. And let's say in this case, they didn't do a business this year. They didn't have any direct sales this year. So we can go right back into forms mode. And then we can delete this form because it doesn't apply. So no home office expense this year, no business. So we can delete it. Yes. Now let's run it again. No errors. Done with states. Again, you get the offer for tax advice. We're going to skip. And continue. And we can see what our numbers are for federal and for state. So that's what it looks like from the customer perspective, completing their federal and state tax return using the desktop program. A few things that I also want to point out here is file is where you have the most options. You can create a new return, open a prior year return with home and business. If you do have contractors or employees, does allow you to create 1099s and W-2s in the program. You can save it to a PDF. You can remove and add a state program, also print and preview. Under edit, this is where you can cut and copy. This one you won't use as much, I will say, but view you will use because it will show you step by step. You can go to forms mode and you can zoom in and zoom out as well as step by step topics. For tools, this is my tax data. This is pretty cool because when you open this up, you will see that it has everything that's been entered in, and it shows whether it was something that was user entered versus something that was transferred in versus something that was a calculation. So if you're looking for something to correct easily or locate where a number came from, you can use this, and you can also sort by source. If you're looking for a specific number, you can sort by number or by form, just depending on what you're looking for. And once you locate it, you can click jump to in the interview mode, or you can go to that exact form. So let's say for this one here, I can click right on, I can highlight that box and click jump to interview. And it's going to take me right to that section. Oh, give me 1 second. Let me try that again. Step-by-step topic. Hold on 1 second. These personal info. It'll take you there. Final review topic list. There's also a calculator in here. If you want to just do the summary, it just gives you a breakdown for this particular tax year. Also, tax history will give you a graph of the difference between last year and this year, which is pretty cool. Going over to order history, if they purchased a product every year, you'll see any orders they made here. Then online. Now, this is great for if you're calling in to get help from an agent, guidance help. They may ask you to share their screen with you. You share their screen with them, and basically you would go to online and then screen share code. When you click on it, you'll get this little number. You give that to the agent. They'll be able to then share only your TurboTax screens. And it does mask any personal information. So that is how you would screen share. I'm going to click in there. And the other big one is, let's say that you're in a lesser product like Deluxe or Premier and you want to upgrade to home and business, you can click switch product. Now, of course, because I'm already in home and business, there's nowhere to upgrade. But if I was in a lower version, it would give me the option to upgrade. Also, pay by phone is a big one. So let's say you have multiple states and you need to add an additional state. What you can do is click pay by phone, additional state, give it a second. It's going to ask if you want to save your return. You'll say yes. It's going to save the return. And then it's going to give you this pop-up window. So as a customer, you're going to choose, let's say that the additional state you needed was Colorado. It's going to give a serial number and tell you the price. You're going to call this 877 number and say, hey, I have a serial number to give you, and you're supposed to give me a state product confirmation number back. They will process the order for you for the amount of $45 in this case. Once they process the order, they'll grab the serial number from you, and then they will actually go in and put they'll get a confirmation, give you a confirmation number. Once you put that in, then you'll be able to click continue and go ahead and actually add your additional state or state e-file. Good to say no here. So that is the basics of using TurboTax desktop version. Part 2 will be a separate section just on TurboTax business. Hopefully this was helpful.